most valuable skill you can learn is to become a dynamic, powerful, and exciting sales person.
I'll tell you what, guys. This video is a follow-up of a video I did the day of my brother's burial, where I stated that my brother's death was not only a wake-up call for me, but it was also a blessing. And I say that because I always look at adversity or adverse situations. I always try to look at it from a positive perspective. And what can I learn from it? What changes can I make if I need to make? And how do I turn it into an opportunity to be more valuable, not only for myself, but for others? And so I would start off by this. 5 days in New York with my family was a very difficult 5 days for me, even though I didn't show it to my family because I wanted to be strong and be supportive for them and suffer privately, but try to be as comforting as I can to my mother, my brother, my sister-in-law, my family members. So I left Sunday morning at 11 a.m. and I got to El Paso at 2 in the morning, Monday morning. Had a 5.5 hour layover in Houston, Texas, coming to El Paso. And I had a lot of time to think about things. And I had a rough day Monday, still made it to work, try to do what I can. My computer, ruined my computer, spilled coffee all over the keyboard. Anyway, long story short, yesterday turned out to be a phenomenal day for me, my client, and also the agent that I was working with. And before I share with you what happened, let me tell you what led to that. Again, my brother's death was a blessing. It was a wake-up call. I started examining myself, my thoughts, my actions, my language, my attitude. And I know that I had to make some changes. And the blessing is this. When I realized the things, after examining myself, the things I needed to change and repent of, my number one thing is always to be closer to God every day. However, I realized that in certain areas in my life, I was slipping. Not in a bad way, but just in a spiritual way, which is bad. But little things that I overlooked that are very important. And so, as I said in the previous video about 5-6 days ago, that I am more stronger than ever before. I am more focused, more motivated, more inspired, more determined, more committed to getting closer to God every single day. And submitting myself to Him. And being obedient to Him. Because that's where the blessings are. That's where the value is. That's where the truth is. And God knows all my thoughts. He knows all your thoughts. So, with that being said, yesterday I was so focused. I starved out any and all of my distractions. I was mentally disciplined and I was ready to take it on. And I did. So, two great things happened to me yesterday. But it wasn't just about me, it was about the people that it affected and benefit and will benefit from. The first one was this. Right now, I work with 5 different agents, including my client that's a broker. And this particular agent, yesterday, I was able to do 2 things that they never thought was possible. But I showed them through the training process, through the development process, speaking with them, spending times and hours with them, that this is all possible. And when we did it, they were still surprised because they couldn't believe that could actually happen because they had a limitation in their way of thinking. But like I said, guys, those of you who know me and been following me, mindset is an attitude and selling is a mindset, closing is an attitude. So here's what happened. With this agent that I'm working with, not only did we get a listing at 6% commission, but also the seller's willing to pay for the marketing cost. That's right, let me repeat that. 6% for the seller's agent and marketing costs to do the marketing to sell the property. Now, what is my role in it? I cold call the seller. I pre-qualify the seller. And through my client, who's the broker, and I'm the transaction coordinator, we got this seller to be a referral to the agent I'm working with and their broker. In addition to that, I would say about 2 hours later, I was able to help the same agent get a buyer with a BAC, which is broker or buyer's agreement contract. Not only did we get the buyer to agree to the contract to show properties after they sign the contract, because they cannot look at properties and agents cannot show properties until the buyer signs an agreement. Some of you know that, all of you should know that if you're a real estate agent. But not only did we get the contract and helping this agent that I'm not only training and developing and helping them change their mindset to how you should go about real estate, this agent also got 3.5% commission from the buyer. They never thought it was possible. But it happens. So now this agent has an opportunity to do a dual agency closing, meaning that this buyer we just signed on, that I helped and referred to this agent, that buyer is potentially going to buy the property of the seller that this agent is representing as well. It's possible, guys. That's what I did. That's what I helped facilitate. Now, for those of you who are wondering, are you a real estate agent? No, I'm not a real estate agent. I will be. But I'm not an agent. I'm a transaction coordinator, and I handle all of the sellers and buyers for my broker. So I bring the sellers as a referral through cold calling to an agent in the local area that my agent client and broker client is not licensed in those areas. So she does referral. I was also able to bring the buyer to the agent as a referral at 3.5%. So if this buyer goes into escrow with the seller, with the same agent, this agent is looking at 9.5% commission on a dual agency escrow deal. That's what I do. That's how I work with agents. That's how I help agents. Because there's a difference between being a real estate agent and a salesperson. And there's total difference between being a salesperson and a closer. And that is what I do. And I was so excited for this agent because it changed their game. It changed the way they're going to do real estate as an agent and as a salesperson. It's also going to change their income. But more importantly, it's going to change their mindset, their confidence, their conviction. That's what it's all about. It's about learning, developing, and producing sales and making money. So that was scenario number 1 yesterday. I wasn't finished. What is the second thing that happened yesterday? Well, there's a private deal that I've been working on for a little bit. And about 2 weeks ago, I have a buyer that trusts me, gave me limited power of attorney to do a deal. So, this buyer I met on Facebook through one of my postings. And he liked what I presented to him. So long story short, I found a property here in El Paso through a bank. It was an REO, real estate owned property, foreclosed property, where I wanted to own it. Well, actually, I wanted that house so I could move into it. And about 2 weeks ago, I worked out a deal with the bank on the LTV, what they're willing to sell it for to get a quick sale. It was at 51% of the value of the property, of what the market value is. So the buyer liked it because he's got it at 51% of what the market value is. So I worked out a deal with the bank. The bank agreed that they're willing to sell it on a cash deal at $149,000, and the property is worth $293,000. So, brought the buyer to meet the bank. They did the deal. But not only did they do the deal, and the buyer has tremendous equity upside on it, but I also got him a tenant that's willing to rent from him for at least a year or so. What a great deal. Well, that tenant happens to be me. So, not only will I be a tenant there, but I'm also getting paid. in negotiating this deal on behalf of my investor. That's a private deal. So, they did inspections today and it passed well. It got appraisal last week and is way over than what the purchase price is. And my client is very happy. And I'm going to be able to move in to this new house. It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 1,900 square feet in a beautiful area in February, because there's about $10,000 to $15,000 cosmetic that it needs. Not a big deal. I negotiated that. That's what I do. Now, the reason why I wanted this house is because I have 2 daughters that I'm going to go get, that I adopted 3 years ago, but I've known them for 5 years. I'm going to Africa next month to go get my girls. And I wanted a special moment and a special place that they can come to. So I got this house. Not an accident, but this is what I do. I'm not talking about this just to brag or whatever. It's just I'm sharing what I do. And why my brother's death was a blessing and why it was a wake-up call. So that's what happened yesterday. 2 exciting, beautiful things that happened, and everyone involved is going to make money. Everyone involved is having a great experience, including myself. And here's the best part. Today, I work with another agent, and we have about, I would say, 7 to 12 for sale by owners that I've been talking with and building relationships to help this particular agent get a few listings by the end of this month. That's my goal for this agent that I'm working with. And so today, I'm focusing on that. I'm committed to that. Why? Because not only is what I do, but as I love doing these things. And I know it's going to benefit the agent I'm working with. And I know it's going to change their lives. It's going to put them at a different plateau. And that's awesome. So if you agents out there believe that there's no such thing impossible to do a dual agency, you don't know what you're talking about. Sorry to say. That's a fact. Stop putting limitations on yourself. I don't put no limitations on myself. And I don't allow anybody to put their limitations on me. Because it is all possible. You just have to know how to do it. And you have to want to know how to do it. And I'll give you a little hint and a little tip. Learn to become a dynamic, powerful salesperson. That's what you need to learn. Learn how to sell. Because a majority, if not a super majority of agents nationwide don't know how to sell. Don't know how to tell stories. Don't know how to close. And if you can't do all that, you're not an agent anyway, because a real estate agent is really a limited power of attorney representing this person for a certain period of time, whether they're buying or selling. That's all it is. It's not rocket science. But 98% of the time, you are a salesperson. Because if you're not selling, you're not getting a contract. Either a listing or buyer's agreements contract. That's simple. Anyway, guys, that was my day yesterday. It was a rough 5 days in New York. I'm still suffering the loss of my brother. I love my brother dearly, but I know he's not suffering anymore. He was suffering for many years. And God took away that suffering. So he's good now. I still miss him. I still hurt because I believe I could have done more to get him to change his ways, but I didn't. So it's a wake-up call for me. Why? Because we all have one thing in common. Same amount of 24 hours, and we all have one breath away from being dead. So I'm refocused and more determined to have a better upcoming year, God willing. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to be sharing a lot of these type of stories with you guys. And if you like this video, do me a favor, share your comments below, smash the like button. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. And remember this, guys. If you learn how to sell and become a dynamic salesperson, if you develop the skill of telling stories and becoming a master closer, watch your value increase as a real estate agent and as a salesperson. Watch your listings double. Watch your sales multiply. And then watch your commissions absolutely freaking explode. Talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye. Mindset and attitude to selling, where sales happen. So which one is more valuable and important? Is it the selling process, or is it the actual sale?